I'd like to call the meeting to order. Would you all please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Do you have any board members online?
Let's do roll call, just check, and then we'll check and then that works for you. So, we're gonna do roll call just real quick to see who's in attendance first. So, Kristen.
Here.
David G is absent. Annie.
Here.
Tyler.
Here.
Christine.
Here.
Kathy.
Here.
Patty is absent. Rebecca will be late, but she's absent at this time. Betty is absent tonight. Sean, is he online? Sean Roderick, or not yet? So we'll be on the lookout for him as well. Kelty. Anyone heard from Kelty? We'll be on the lookout for Kelty. And David Twitchell was going to be absent today. He had told us that. Eric
Here.
is here. Awesome. And is Esme here? Not tonight. Okay.
No, but I would like to welcome Abigail to the seat anyway for tonight. She's filling in for tonight, so thank you. Okay, so before we begin, Patty's online.
Okay. Oh, let's wait just a sec, make sure. Oh, and then Sean just.
Sean's here. Okay.
You want me to move down?
Yes. Move that closer to us, Tyler. So is that?
So you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah. As soon as, Patty, we're just checking in to make sure you can hear us.
I can hear you.
Awesome. Thank you, Patty. And Sean just came in.
Okay.
Person.
So we do have 7. We have a quorum. We have a quorum.
Okay, so before we get started, I'd first of all like to welcome everybody tonight, and I'd like to remind you of our agreed upon core values that we worked on at the beginning of the school year, which are integrity, perseverance, family, respect, collaboration, and trust. These values support our mission of being a caring school community dedicated to excellence. And they also support our vision of being safe, dynamic learning communities where people of all ages will think, aspire, and participate as responsible citizens in an ever-changing global society. So this business meeting tonight is being held both in person and virtually through Zoom in compliance with RSU 38 policy BED, remote participation in school board meetings. The meeting is being recorded and will be posted on the maranacook.org YouTube channel. During the citizen comments and public participation in accordance with RSU 38 policy BEDH, the following guidelines will be followed. For those attending via Zoom, you will notice the microphones will be muted except during the identified portions of public comments at this meeting, which is number 8 on the agenda. If you're viewing on Zoom and would like to speak during the public comments, please use the chat feature to notify Diane McGregor, and then she'll notify me. In-person speakers, please sign up on the sheet at the door, on the clipboard at the door. All speakers, please identify yourself with first and last name and the town that you live in. Priority will be given to individuals who are residents of our towns. If time permits, once all residents have had a chance to speak, the board will permit non-resident comments. We ask that speakers limit their comments to 3 minutes. And if someone who has spoken before you has a similar view, please reference their comment rather than repeating the same ideas. All citizen comments should be directed to the board chair. We want to hear from all stakeholders, and we ask that you be respectful in your constructive comments. I would also like to clarify how we address concerns of the public. In accordance with RSU 38 policy BEDH, we welcome all respectful comments and concerns, and we ask that you do not use any derogatory language or use names or identifying comments of any district personnel or students. We cannot discuss specific personnel matters in the public setting, but we can listen to any concerns that folks may have on a broader scale. All speakers, please address the chair and direct questions or comments to particular board members only through the chair. The board will hear and record your comments and questions, but will not debate matters at this meeting. Board members' questions must be addressed through the chair. Following the meeting, we will take time to research and gather information on the matter, and at the next board meeting or before that, we'll follow up with information on any questions that people may have. The public is also always welcome to submit written comments on school and educational matters to the board or to the superintendent. Again, thank you all for coming tonight and participating. So the first thing we have on our agenda tonight is our student representatives. Are we going to do middle school or high school first? Looks like middle school.
So on the Team Royal, in one of our classes with Miss Ryder, we are learning about rocks and how they are formed. We're also learning about layers of the earth and what each layer is made out of. In Miss Satterfield's class, we are learning about waves, weather, and currents of waves. In Miss Scher's class, we are learning about global warming and different ways it affects our world. In literacy, we're working on theme essays and what themes are in our books. We started our essays and we'll be working on them for the next few classes. In 8th grade math, we were working on solving linear equations and how they can be equal to each other. In 7th grade math, we are working on geometry and 2D shapes. They have also started to learn surface area. In 6th grade math, they are working on dividing and simplifying fractions. They're using diagrams and tables to help them as well. On Katahdin and ELA, students are learning about the Holocaust and are writing journals about people whose lives were impacted by the Holocaust. In math, all grades 6th, 7th, and 8th have finished their latest units and are taking a unit assessment. They're also learning about wars and important ones from the past. They are learning what the war conflict means because that is how most of wars have started. And spring sports started this week from the middle school.
Thank you.
Hello, I'm Carter. So in art, quarter 4 has just begun. So that means we're going to be working on our pop art paintings of our favorite foods. And then after this, we're going to make clay whistles. Student government has finally finished preparing all the clothes for Vicky's Boutique, and they're working on a video commercial to show all the students that it's ready. The Vicky's Boutique is the place outside right there where if kids have like issues with their clothes, like they need to change them because they got muddy or whatever, they can get new clothes there. So Sebago has started a new unit. They're learning about making choices for the future and learning with the government. And they're also learning about how those choices that they make are going to impact the community. In writing, they've moved on to their argumentative writing unit. In their hands-on classes, they started a bevy of new activities, include crocheting, cooking, and more. On Acadia, we've recently started learning about geography and immigration. We will have a GOB competition against moose at some point in the coming months. They recently started a project in which they learned about the 5 pillars of geography for a nation of their choice. These pillars include region, location, place, movement, and human environment interaction. In writing, we're working on our informational essays using what we learned in our American Revolution unit. And let's see. In reading, we've been examining a speech made by Benjamin Franklin to the Continental Congress. In 6th grade math, they've been learning about decimals. 7th grade math has been learning about rational numbers, and 8th grade has been learning tricks for 3D geometry. Thank you.
Thank you, Carter.
Hi, I'm Taylor. On Moose is studying geography and maps, as Carter has stated, and they're also looking into earth and sky systems and plate tectonics. They are still fundraising with the sale of water bottles, stickers, and a margaritas night that they hope to have lots of support for their field trip coming in May. Health is once again working on their communication and mental health awareness course because new quarter of UAs have started. Music, they are reviewing sound waves and the history of music, considering both how it's evolved and special people who contributed to that. German has just finished a traveling trip project where they had to choose a German-speaking country to research and plan a 1-week trip to. And Moxie are working on debates about fast food restaurants and learning about writing argumentative essays.
Thank you, Taylor. Are there any questions or comments from the board? Sean?
Can you make sure we get the margaritas night? I like to go out to eat. I know a lot of people where I work, month of May is busy, and so we can help out with that.
Any other questions or comments from the board? Great report. Thank you very much for all your work in putting that together. So, Abby, for the high school.
Hi, I'm Abigail Allen. So council has been discussing the new and upcoming projects for next year's Senate. We've also been trying to get a date for next year's officer nominations. We've also been trying to produce some new ideas like a karaoke fundraising night and some ideas for Mental Health Awareness Month. Student Voice Committee has started to make posts up for the Maracaibo Seniors Instagram account to shout out the seniors and their post-grad plans. Outreach is starting a community breakfast project. We don't have like too many official details on that project because it is a new idea for us this year. Student Wellness has finally gotten that Monday morning munchies project we've been discussing for months, work up and running, and we've been able to sell for like the last 2 or 3 weeks. And then Spirit has had many activities throughout this last year, so they're preparing their committee for next year's Spirit projects and are planning to help out the other committees. In the extra and co-curricular is spring sports have just started up and the seasons have been going very smoothly. The theater program had their production of Clue, and according to everyone that attended and the cast and crew, it had gone very well and it was a very enjoyable show. We had our second Teen Issues Day where we learned about anxiety and how to cope, and we had different sessions revolving around that. We had a post-grad day today where sophomores got to do job shadowing outside school, juniors got to learn about the college process, and then seniors went to Coney and learned about different careers. Our math team went to states yesterday. Ella Martinez Nocito scored the highest, followed by Silas Bartol and Eli Smith. And then social studies debate is Rho Kappa Honor Society hosted a social studies debate between 2 of our social studies teachers to promote the social studies group. And then lastly, we had a district band day where the 5th graders and the middle schoolers came up to the high school to watch and learn from the high school band and jazz band. And they also got to talk and learn from the Triumph Music Honor Society.
Great, thank you, Abigail. Are there any questions or comments from the board? Thank you to all the student reporters. Great job. So are there any additions or adjustments to the agenda by the board or the superintendent?
I don't really have an adjustment, but I wanted to. I just wanted to say anyone who was involved with Clue, I went to that. It was a lot of fun. I enjoyed it. I hadn't laughed that hard in a long time. So the students crushed it. Please pass that along. And then the second thing was there was a couple job shadows at the State House today from Miranda Cook and Michelle. I don't know if you're here, but the kids were awesome. There was one in my office and there was one with a lobbying firm with my good friend, and the kids did really well. Great representatives. So wanted to share both those things.
Thank you, Sean. Patty?
Hang on, it's not letting me start my video. Oh, well, okay, I can't put my video on, I was going to. I have a couple of comments I wanted to make about last meeting, and I don't know if I should do it here or when we talk about the minutes of the last meeting. Could you advise me on that?
Why don't we wait till we talk about the minutes of the last meeting?
Sounds good.
Okay. All right, good. Thank you. Anyone else? So we have a celebration?
Yes, oops, I do have a celebration. So we were informed earlier this week that our own Dory Tripp is one of 5 teachers that was selected for the inaugural class of Teacher Leader Fellows. This is a program that's being put on by the Maine Department of Education. It was an application process. And again, Dory was selected, and it's an amazing opportunity. I know she's super excited. A lot of us sent her congratulations when we found out about this, and we will make sure the link to the official DOE notice is included so that you can see all the information. But we're very proud of Dory and the work that she's doing. And it's a great honor to be on an inaugural fellowship class like that. So we're looking forward to what she can bring back for herself and obviously for her students. So
That's great. Can you pass on the board's
I
congratulations
absolutely
as
will.
well?
That's
to her?
awesome.
So that was really,
That's
very
awesome.
awesome. Thank you for sharing that with us. Okay, we also have all the reports in our packet. Are there any questions or comments on any of the reports? Hearing none. The committee, next committee meeting.
No, can we just, I just wanted to follow up. I know it was in your packet, the financial reports. We did, thanks to, I think Leslie's here. Yes, I see her right there. She had asked a question concerning a calculation from last year. And we were able to do a little research. It did take us a little time to do the research and everything. And there is a memo in there. I'm not going to read the whole memo. The long story, the short story, the short version is that we used 2022 when we should have used 2021. It's a 3-year rolling average, and we did 19, 20, and 22. We should have done 19, 20, and 21. So we've made those adjustments. We've contacted all of the towns, and we've taken care of balancing everything. And we checked it with the auditors as well as our financial person from Drummond and Woodson, and the towns were very receptive and thanked us for catching that. And I'd just like to point out that thank you to Leslie, who at Citizen Common brought it up, and it was nice that we were able to catch that before we got too far along. So and Mandy worked really hard to make it right. So I wanted to say thank you to Mandy for all her work on that.
Great. Thank you. Thank you, Leslie. Anybody else have any questions or comments on the reports? And then the committee meetings are there as well. Okay. So we'll move on to our action items. Do I have a motion for the approval of the board minutes from March 22nd?
I move to approve the board minutes of March 22nd.
Second. So it's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Patty?
I just wanted to make a comment. It's not really about approving the minutes. So should I do that now, or?
If we're talking about the March
Okay.
22nd, sure.
Okay, I was really upset at last week's meeting, or 2 weeks ago's meeting. I thought that there were a couple of really emotional outbursts that were really unprofessional, and I think we're better than that. And I felt concerned because we have really clear roles about what we all who sit up there at those chairs in the front of this meeting are supposed to be doing, and following those roles and the guidelines of those roles is what's professional. And I think that's what we have to do. And I was concerned because I wonder if the board is making decisions based on emotions and anger versus on reasoned, careful decision-making. And I just wanted to say that I was really concerned about how things went down last meeting. And when you said what you said at the beginning of this meeting, Kathy, the way you do at the beginning of all meetings, like we have to keep our eye on the prize of our district mission and doing what's best for students. I feel like the outbursts at the last meeting did not show a good face for that. And I think we need to be better. That's what I wanted to say. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Patty. We try to follow our norms best we can, because that is important. Any other questions about, any other discussion about the board minutes from last meeting? Okay, we can do a vote.
Vote, okay. Kristen?
Yeah.
Annie?
Yes.
Tyler?
Abstain.
Christine?
So I'm not exactly sure how to handle this. I probably should have raised it during the questions about it or discussion. I'm not my recollection is that the full discussion of the SRO, I think there were other comments. I made some comments too that are not captured in that discussion. So I don't know if I abstain or if I don't know how to handle that.
So can you be a little bit more
More specific about what it is that yeah. So on this, it's budget workshop B, the discussion. And I know we can't capture every single, word. But I do think that what this suggests is that there was overwhelming support for, it says Mr. Roderick stated there are multiple reasons for the increase, some of which include COVID positions that were added. He stated he won't give up on an SRO. The district has a problem. I mean, there were other things that were said in that discussion that are not captured here. And so it just seems like there was more discussion, and that it was a little more balanced than that, or I guess I would say balanced. So I guess that will just be, I'll just say that and then.
So are you feeling that there's something that we should add to the minutes? Because we can.
Yeah, I mean, well, I think it's tough to go back now because I don't even remember. It was, I know I'm one of the people who spoke about that issue. I don't recall exactly what it is that I did say. I just know that it's not captured here. So maybe I'll just say that and we can add that to the meeting minutes for this week.
Okay.
And that would be fine with me if that's okay with everybody else.
Is that okay with everyone else? Okay. Okay. So thank you for bringing that up, Christine. So we're voting right now though. So you can vote yes or no to accept the minutes.
Okay, yes, I vote to accept it. Okay, thanks.
Kathy,
Yes.
Patty,
Yes,
Rebecca,
Yeah.
Sean,
Yes.
and yeah, no Kelty yet, right? Just double checking. Eric,
Yes.
sounds good.
Okay, is there a motion to approve the board retreat minutes from March 22nd?
I move that we approve the board retreat minutes from March 22nd. Second.
Is there any discussion? Just who seconded?
Annie.
Just for clarification, the board retreat was tabled. That's what the minutes said. So that's all it was. Because it got to be very late, so we postponed it to another day. Okay, so we can vote.
Sounds good. Kristen,
Yeah.
Annie,
Yes.
Tyler,
Abstain?
Christine,
Yes.
Kathy,
Yes.
Patty,
yes,
Betty, oh, excuse me, Rebecca,
Yes.
Sean,
Yes.
and Eric.
Yes.
So it does pass.
So-
7 yes, 1 abstention.
Chad, I'm just going to ask
Yeah,
because you
go
weren't
ahead.
here.
Yeah.
Okay, that's why you abstained. Okay, thank you. Okay, is there a motion to accept the donations as outlined in our packet?
I move we accept the donations as presented.
Second?
Any discussion? Hearing none? Any? Okay, we'll vote.
Kristen.
Yeah.
Annie,
Yes.
Tyler,
Yes.
Christine,
Yes.
Kathy,
Yes.
Patty,
yes,
Rebecca,
Yes.
Sean,
Yes.
and Eric.
Yes.
So it passes unanimously.
So is there a motion to accept the resignation of Kristen McLaren, who is a high school French teacher?
I move we accept the resignation of Kristen McLaren effective 6/30/2023.
Second?
Is there any discussion? Oh, okay, just want to make sure Patty had the discussion. Yep.
Kristen,
Yes.
Annie,
Yes.
Tyler,
Yes.
Christine,
Yes.
Kathy,
Yes.
Patty,
yes,
Rebecca,
Yes.
Sean,
Yes.
and Eric.
Yes.
Again, unanimous.
So is there a motion to accept the policy JFAA as second reading?
Motion to accept policy JFAA as As written.
Second.
Is there any discussion? No discussion?
Oh, right. Kristen,
Yeah.
Annie,
Yes.
Tyler,
Yes.
Christine,
Yes.
Kathy,
Yes.
Patty,
Yes.
Rebecca,
Yes.
Sean,
Yes.
and Eric.
Yes.
So again, unanimous.
Is there a motion for consideration of out-of-state travel for the Mount Vernon Grade 5 Boston trip on June 8th?
Motion to accept the field trip as read.
Second. Any discussion? No discussion? No Patty? Okay, we can vote.
Kristen?
Yeah.
Annie,
Yes.
Tyler,
Yes.
Christine,
Yes.
Kathy,
Yes.
Patty,
Yes, and I couldn't make my hand go up fast enough when it was discussion time, but I just wanted to shout out to Leslie Boyce because she is amazing and doing tons of work, done tons of work to get this thing organized and doing tons of work about it. And just shout out. Yes.
Rebecca,
Yes.
Sean,
Yes.
and Eric.
Yes.
So again, unanimously passed.
Is there a motion to approve the return to learn plan?
I move that we approve the return to learn plan.
Second.
Is there any discussion?
I have a question.
Go ahead.
Is this just a technicality that we have to
Yes.
do this?
We need to do this every 6 months for our ESSER funds. Whenever we give like we have a performance report that's due on Friday and we just have to show that. Again, we approve it every 6 months. So.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions or discussion?
Kristen.
Yeah.
Annie,
Yes.
Tyler,
Yes.
Christine,
Yes.
Kathy,
Yes.
Patty,
Yes.
Rebecca,
Yes.
Sean,
Yes.
and Eric.
Yes.
So again, unanimous.
The next on our agenda is the legislative update. So I'm just going to give you a real quick update. We did meet yesterday for over 2 hours to go through some of the bills that are on the table for the Education Committee. And I've sent you the link that you can link and you can go right to the website and they're all there and what our positions were. But something's going on with that site right now because I couldn't get on it today either. Someone else said they couldn't. So I don't know if they've taken it down, but I've got all the information if you want it. So one of the ones that we discussed yesterday was an act to protect children by modernizing internet and digital media filtering requirements for education. And we ended up being what we call NFNA, not for, not against, because we felt in the discussion, a lot of the schools already have filtering in place that we're very happy with, and we think that we can just keep that. We don't need a mandate to everybody to have a specific one that might cost us more money. So we're just going to hold on, put NFNA on that one and see where it goes. Another one was to amend the essential programs and services funding formula. There were a lot of bills that are coming forward to amend the funding formula, and they're all basically the same. And a lot of them we've just kind of wanted to monitor and put on hold because there's some information about a lot of these that we just don't have yet, that, we're not quite ready to take a position one way or the other. So this one was to include all costs for transportation of students. So that's what this one was specifically. And on this one, I think we opposed this one. Let me just make sure I'm saying this right. 1369. Tyler?
Like what is like if you were to average out all of the changes, are they increasing? So we would get more money from the state, or we wouldn't end up getting net less money from the state?
Good question. Sean, maybe you can help. Well, a lot of them are just, they want to change the formula. Some of them are about like looking at the median income. Some of them are looking at, how the distribution of the money is. There's a lot of different pieces of it. And I'm not really sure where it's going to go. Go ahead, Sean.
A lot of them have to do with certain towns aren't getting any money from the state. They don't think it's fair. Some of them are to do with, like, I know I spent a lot of time on the road on the phone with the lady from Belgrade who's very active in these. who feel Belgrade isn't getting their fair share, they have lake property, so they're trying to account for people who don't live on the lake. I mean, every town has their own little.
Their reason to
issue,
change it.
Their reason to change.
And that's what keeps coming up in our discussions is the whole distribution
Correct.
of the money to different
Right.
districts and how is that gonna be decided and, where is this all gonna
But
fall?
then every
So,
time you change it, there's winners and losers,
That's right, yeah, so.
because
no.
there's only so much money in the pot.
Exactly. Let me see what else. Well, the other one was an act to allow employers to shop for competitive health plan options by expanding the disclosure information. And that was basically, to allow schools to go out and shop around for different, medical insurance rather than, I guess it wasn't just medical, yeah, it was health claims. To see if we could get a better price and on that one, let me see what we did on that one. 3. These are all my notes from from the meetings. Okay, so we did support this one. Because we felt that, maybe it would be a good idea to really take a look at what else is out there and not always having to go with the one that MMSA or has us use. So whether it'll pass or not, I don't know. There was one other one I wanted to talk to you about too. Oh, this one right here. An act to hold school employees civilly liable for failure to notify parents regarding medical issues of students under 18 years of age. This we opposed. And the reason that we opposed that was because we didn't feel like to be held civilly liable and be charged with different things if they didn't notify parents. So we just, we absolutely feel like parents should be notified, but we don't feel that staff members should be criminalized for not doing that. So we oppose that one. I think that was, again, these are all online if you want to look at them. And if you have any other questions, I can try to help you with that. But I think that's, oh no, the last one I wanted to talk about was an act to establish a recall process for public school board members. So that was an interesting debate because when this originally came out, it said an act to recall school board members for any reason. So it meant that, people in the towns could just decide they wanted to recall a school board member and, they'd have to do a petition for any reason and they could. This one's a little tighter. They tightened up the language and they really, we felt that there may be some reasons why school board members might need to be recalled. So we didn't want to say we opposed it, but we wanted to make sure that we knew exactly what it meant before we said yes or no. So we said, not for, not against. So that gives us the opportunity to still testify at the hearing and, find out where it's going with that. But they did change it from recall for any reason to just recall for certain reasons. So that's it for the legislative update this week. If anyone has any questions or comments.
Except
Oh, go ahead.
2 bills I think are important. There was 2 bills today. One to do with school milk. Right now under the school lunch law, kids can't get milks for free. They can only get the lunch for free. And if they want the milk, there's been a reporting, so I don't know if it happens in this district, kids just dump the lunch and they take the milk. And so there was a bill today, I think is of interest because I've heard this from parents. Why did I get this bill for my kids' milks? Because I thought it was free lunch. Well, it's only free if they get the full meal. And there was a bill today that actually participated in on that. So I think it's something we should take a look at. And I know Mr. Bailey from Maine School did testify. I think he did. And it's one we should look at because it is an issue. Why? I mean, yeah. So, and then the second one was because of high suicide, mental health issues on all school IDs that are printed, there would be a suicide prevention number of some sort printed on the school ID, which led to a possible amendment that maybe instead of the school IDs, everybody has a laptop, and why not put a sticker on the laptop because people lose their IDs. So those are 2 bills that I thought were very interesting, some very emotional testimony on that bill. And so I wanted to bring those 2 up because we talked an awful lot about mental health and about feeding kids properly.
Yeah, I'm glad that you updated us on that one because that was talked about a while back, the numbers on their ID cards, so.
But that kind of went into kids don't carry their IDs, they memorize the numbers, so why not school laptops or something?
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay. Next on the agenda, citizen comments. Do we have citizens signed up for comments? Thank you. Okay, let me see if I can pronounce these names. Shiana Morrison, did I get it right?
She's
Oh,
online.
okay, she's online. Is she there? Oh, there she is. Okay. What's that? Okay, go ahead.
So my name is Chiana Morrison and I live in Wayne. Let me start by saying that you guys all probably had a normal high school experience. None of you had to worry about social distancing or masks. You were able to go to school without any more problems than the average high schooler. That is not the life we have, though. Our high school years have been ripped from us because of COVID. When we were in our freshman year, a lot of us were remote, not being able to experience our first year of high school like everyone else did. When we were sophomores, we were all back, but with restrictions like wearing masks or staying 3 to 5 feet apart from peers and friends, and no more than 4 people per lunch table. So even though we didn't have true sophomore experience, even then we didn't have a true sophomore experience. Only during our junior year did we finally have a true high school experience. Most of us went to CATSI, and we were looking forward to graduating. This brings me to my main point of my argument. Our entire high school experience has been stripped from us because of COVID, taking away our ability to graduate somewhere that has proven again and again that is better in every way is just depriving us of the one thing our entire grade is looking forward to. Our graduation is the one big thing that we have control over. So let the senior class of 2024 graduate at the Civic Center so that we can have a true graduation experience. Thank you.
Thank you. Abby Allen?
This was before I was gonna be. Okay, before I start to continue off of what Chi has said, I have a petition made by juniors, signed by juniors that I was told and asked to pass around for everyone to see because we did not make enough copies. So I'll just start with Eric. So as you know, I am Abigail Allen, and as you also know, since all of you have had to speak with me throughout this school year and last, I'm a pretty passionate person about my school and the students within my school. You know that I am all for student comfortability and to make positive changes for the students. So when the idea of having my class's graduation to be in our gym, I immediately thought of the negative effects this could have on the class of 24, the faculty, and the parents' well-being during our graduation. Our gym does not have the same space and air conditioning as the Civic Center does. Therefore, that leaves the gym being extremely warm, even with doors open. I've been a part of or witnessed many music-related concerts or performances where it has been so warm, students have passed out or have had other heat-related issues, then they had to be sent to the health center. And that was just from a small performance. Our graduation would be much bigger and would lead to more people being at health risk because of the heat. The Civic Center is well air conditioned. There's plenty of space to make the comfortable for everyone, no matter how hot it is. Not only that, but our gym does have handicapped accessible areas, but not a lot. The Civic Center would simply offer much more handicapped accessible areas for everyone that needed them. I am also the youngest of 3. I've watched both of my brothers graduate in the gym, and one of them graduated with the class of 2020, where it was even more intolerable to be in the gym. We were lucky as the class of 2020 was not a big class, so we could simply just honestly get out of there. Also, for those who are still concerned about COVID, the gym is just not an option for them, where there will be family members, staff, and students, pretty close-knit, and that can induce some pretty bad anxiety for those still nervous about COVID. I appreciate you taking the time to listen, and I hope you take in consideration some of these basic needs for my class and the others affected by the graduation location.
Thank you. Josie Walker? Are you Josie?
No.
Oh,
That's Josie.
oh, I'm sorry. I skipped over you. I didn't mean to. I'm
That's
sorry.
all right. Hello,
I'm Cassie McCormick. In previous years, I've served on the board as a student rep, but this year I come to you as a representative of the junior class. My class has clearly expressed that we want to hold the 2024 graduation in the Civic Center. The Maranacook High School gym puts restrictions on our graduation and restrictions that the class of 2024 has been dealing with since 8th grade when COVID hit. Additionally, I fully acknowledge the struggle of having to end school 5 days after graduation, which brings into the question the elimination of remote days, as it seems they could have provided a reasonable solution. My second half of 8th grade was fully remote, and I was hybrid for all of my freshman year. If remote learning is not a viable option for education, why have I not had to make up my 8th grade and freshman year? I certainly agree that remote days for long periods of time can be tricky and lose student interest. However, participating in a couple of remote days every winter instead of extending school at the end of the year or stressing about meeting the amount of days required, an option much of the student body would prefer. As members of the school board, I would like to think you have the students' best interest in mind. I encourage you to listen to my peers' voices and that of our parents. Please look at the signatures collected and consider our graduation further. Thank you.
Thank you, Cassidy. And Josie?
Hello and good evening, Maranacook School Board. My name is Josie Walker. I am a member of the junior class here, and as you may have guessed, I'm here to discuss the decision that was made to have the class of 2024 graduation at Maranacook High School as opposed to the Civic Center. Only I am not here to discuss with you what is wrong with this plan. I could mention the problems with the heat and lack of air conditioning, the cramped quarters, the restrictions, the previous experiences, and the unfair treatment given specifically to the class of 2024, but I am not here to do that today, as some of my classmates have already spoken on these reasons. I instead come to the board with a couple of questions. If graduation is hosted at Maranacook as proposed, that would limit each student to 2, maybe 3, or 4 at the absolute most invitations to the graduation. I have parents who are no longer together, as many students in this community do, and both of my parents have other spouses. I also have 2 terminally ill grandparents, one with COPD that is diabetic and an amputee. I have an 86-year-old grandmother whose days are running out. I am the oldest of 4 with 3 younger sisters. I guess my questions for the board are as follows. How do I tell my stepmom and dad, people who have known me since I was 1 and 4 years old respectfully, and who have helped raise me, how do I tell them they cannot see me walk this stage? How do I explain to my grandparents my district was not able to accommodate them and they were not willing to make anything work for my handicapped grandfather? How do I tell my little sisters they can't see their older sister, someone they look up to and spend every day with graduate? Do I pick between my parents and grandparents? Do I choose between my siblings? How does the board recommend I go about this situation? I leave my comment with this. When the board makes their decision, please take into account that I would rather do 400 remote days than look at my stepfather, a man who helped raise me since before I could remember anything, and tell him he cannot see my biggest accomplishment. Thank you.
Thank you, Josie. So I just want to repeat again what I said about how we address public comments. So we will take these comments. We've been writing notes. We'll take your comments into consideration. We'll talk about them, and then we'll come back with an answer at the next meeting or before. Thank you. Leslie? Nothing? Jean?
I had nothing to do with graduation.
I think we have more graduation.
I don't know. I just feel like.
Nope, I would like you to come next. You're on the list next.
Good evening. My name is Jean Rosner. Not only am I a resident of Reedfield, but I am a product of Maranacook area schools graduating in 1997. It's not an exaggeration to say that I spent 3/4 of my life learning and serving in this district. I'm also a proud parent to 2 district students, Emma and Miles, both pieces of my heart who've been growing up in our building since before they could walk. While watching the last board meeting, I felt moved to be here tonight. You see, I saw emotion spilling out. A board member talked about his child's experience of school bullying, and another board member or 2 stated something along the lines of, our schools must be getting worse since we've seen expulsion and suspension hearings this year. Then a parent of one of my team students and a longtime friend said, as a parent, I'm flipping out right now. I need to set the record straight. While nothing is 100% perfect, our district schools are exceptionally safe. There is data to back that up. For as long as I can remember, the student body has, by an overwhelming majority, reported that they feel safe in our buildings. This number was often the highest in Kennebec County. Our most recent MIAS data put that number around 93% of students. Our union-supported staff surveys have shown that staff feel safe. Student and staff have said that they do not feel a need for a student resource officer at Maranacook area schools, another indicator of our feeling of safety. There are lower violence rates in our schools and in many of our neighboring districts, something that is measured and shared through data collected by the Maine Department of Education. The numbers and the vibes in our building indicate a level of safety that cannot be denied. At the last board meeting, though, our school board representatives referenced our escalating suspension and expulsion numbers as a sign that our schools are not safe and a reason that we need a school resource officer. As a trained scientist, I've been taught to question my assumptions and biases. Yes, it's true, those numbers are on the rise. But these rising numbers are not a sign of escalating violence or threat in our schools. Instead, this data is due to our written policies not being aligned with current best practices. In the years I've spent in the district, I've read the student drug use policy and the student handbook more times than I can count. What is true about that policy is that it has remained substantially unchanged since I began as a student here over 30 years ago. And even then, the written policies were not followed. This year, with new administrators on our high school and middle school levels and with new deans of students, our schools have been directed to match our practice to our written policy. Policies that are antiques, really, do not put student needs or education first and are not known to improve the lives of our communities. Instead, this year, we take students who are craving connection and separate them from the community, rather than providing them the safety net of support that they so desperately need in a time of crisis. As a longtime educator, I'm aware of instances where illicit substances were shared between students. In each case, staff could see that this student needed connection, support, and love, and that's what that child received. Don't get me wrong, this child felt the squeeze of discipline and strong redirection. Our staff did what was right for the student, their family, and our community. This year, those same children would have been put before our school board in an expulsion hearing, most likely removed from the student population. Research tells us that these moves worsen the outcomes in situations. This child or these children would have been labeled as bad kids rather than children who needed more education, stronger relationships, and hope. I hope that we as a district will revise our written drug use policies and revise our faulty thinking and assumptions around our current school data. Our schools are exceptionally safe. Our staff and our students deserve to learn and grow in that sense of safety, and their parents deserve to rest in that knowledge. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you. Next on the list is Dean Mushlet. I don't know if I said that right, but no, sorry. Okay, have a little time.
Hi, I am Deanne Mushlet, Manchester, mom of 4. It's okay. We have 2 previous graduates of Maranacook. My daughter Molly graduated in 2014 and Skylar in 2016. That was the hot gym. That was, I didn't know we were supposed to get here the minute the doors opened. So our family was dispersed. We didn't sit together. I didn't see my daughter graduate because people taller than me stood. We learned the second time, but that meant longer amounts of time in the hot gym. So the students did a really great job of discussing that, in addition to discussing the numbers. We're a family of 6. And I wouldn't want to make that decision of, you know, what do you do, rock, paper, scissors, who stays home? There's not enough room for everybody. My daughter Casey is graduating this year, and I am delighted that we're going to be at the Civic Center. The first 2, I'm going to be honest, it was something we survived. It had nothing to do with celebration. During Molly's graduation, I'm telling myself, don't pass out, don't pass out, don't pass out. I won't have to do that this time. I have elderly grandparents are still alive, and they have access to come in here, and they'll be able to see their granddaughter graduate because it's air conditioned, because it's easy access to come in. If you held the graduation, even outside of the gym, some of the issues we had, okay, the doors were open. Someone sitting next to me was allergic to bees and all the hornets were coming in. So there was a high level of anxiety. Nobody got stung, thank God, but the anxiety was definitely there. And I wanted to ask specifically, when we watched the last board meeting, the survey that went around, which by the way was done immediately in my house because we felt so strongly about this subject. It was referenced at the last meeting, but it was referenced quickly and it was quickly dismissed. And I'm just wondering why. Because I thought I heard like 69% said they wanted to move or just keep the graduation at the Civic Center, but that it was statistically insignificant. So I wanted to, I don't know if we can have dialogue, but I wanted that addressed. So thank you for hearing me out.
Thank you. And Hazen Clark?
Good evening. My name is Hazen Clark. I'm from Manchester. My daughter Dora is working this evening and asked me to come and be as part of the junior class and put in a voice for the Civic Center. And yes, I graduated from here. And yes, it can be a warm and tight spot there and lots of families. So I don't think I need to say any more than I just want to put in another plug for my child. Thank you very much. Have a good evening.
Thank you. Yes.
Wesley Marco from Mount Vernon, but also from Reedfield and also from Manchester. Grew up in Manchester, I live in Mount Vernon. My kids go to Reedfield as well as to the middle school. I want to revisit the conversation that is going on about a school resource officer. I want to talk about the fact that it's about how everybody feels, about what everybody thinks is necessary. There won't always be 100% agreement on any topic, on any decision that's ever made. But I will say there are staff that are horrified that we don't have one. There are staff that feel incredibly safe. I don't know if talking about any one stakeholder where the priority stakeholder isn't the children and maybe the children's infrastructure and the children's family and the children's impact has to be at the top of why we're making some of our decisions. And that has to do with kids who have a voice and kids who don't have a voice. It has to do with families that have access. It has to do with families that don't have access. It has to do with staff that feel comfortable here and staff that don't feel comfortable here and maybe don't feel comfortable talking about it. Everybody needs to have had a voice. I have dug and talked to schools and people and parents and staff of so many schools that have SROs and have had them for a very long time. Schools that are poor districts that have still had SROs for a very long time and could not imagine it being without them. I don't think that the only way to look at the SRO conversation is whether I don't know as though there's a reason to, or rather there is a reason to understand why we are stiff arming the conversation instead of understanding both sides of the conversation. I started with a citizen comment to say, I'd rather understand why people don't want an SRO so that we can explore all the reasons why on both sides there's a benefit and what the disadvantage would be. Because so far, the only disadvantage I have heard had been around cost. And I think we've already talked about a couple of ways to help solve that. So I didn't want to leave the SRO conversation lingering. With all of the respect to all of the people that need to consider, weigh in, pay, and vote for this. I just don't know why we would stiff arm such an important conversation about a resource that maybe needs to join our district.
Thank you. Okay, let's move on to the budget.
So can you pass around? Oh, Don's got it. We'll pass it around here in just a second. So as the papers are making their way around, no PowerPoint presentation tonight, just kind of looking at the warrant article summary as the first page. The second page is the revenue draft, and then the third page is the local dollar calculation. I'm going to try to, in a nutshell, let you know why we are where we are right now. And I would invite Mandy, our business director, to please feel free to correct me or add anything that I miss as we go forward. So really good news. Our insurance rates at first had come in at, it wasn't going to be any higher than 6%. And it actually came in at 0%. So that turned out to be a significant savings for us. As I mentioned, I did email some people, as I mentioned. I did meet with facilities. I met with transportation, adult education, and student activities, and give a lot of credit to those people. They came up with some minor savings in each of those departments as well that we could fold into the budget. We then added back in the student resource officer, folded into it. So if you're looking at the total change, which is the grand total on the front page, at the very beginning, we were originally right near $2 million, and right now our proposed change is a little over $1.3 million, which translates to an 6.86 budget increase at this point. So we're actually lower than we thought, where we thought we were going to be. For those of you that saw the newspaper as well, one of the factors that helped this tremendously was that the Department of Education released a new ED 279, where they originally had the local mill rate share at 7.26. And they actually, there was an error in their calculation. So it turned out that it was 6.9. So that became, again, another kind of savings for us, and actually gave us, what was it, Mandy, a little over $345,000? $65,000 to our budget, which was obviously welcome, to help soften that a little bit as well going forward. Mandy, have I missed anything?
Yeah, I just want to clarify that the additional, the 365,000 wasn't additional revenue, but a shift from the towns back to the state. So it should have been allocated from the state and not the towns, which is what reduced the mill rate down to the 6.97. That didn't impact the 6.86% increase to our actual budget, but it does impact on your local dollar calculation. You'll see down towards the very bottom where it shows the percentages to each town. We are now, I don't know, remember before how high a percentage increase that was to each town, but we are now down to a 7.78% district-wide, which is 7.86 Manchester, 6.58 Mount Vernon, 7.96 to Reedfield, and 8.91 to Wayne. So that's what that really impacted, just to be clear.
That's a quick question. Can I ask specifics about the individual articles as far as what the decrease, what might have led to that? And particular, I'm looking at I think it's Article 5, other instruction, where that was cut almost in half, I think.
So other instruction,
What was,
that's a minimal budget to begin with. That is your going extracurricular.
okay, that's what I thought. Okay, I was trying to remember from the slideshow, but that's, okay. Got it. Thank you.
Other, kind of open it up to questions as you're reviewing all three sheets. You can kind of ask anything you'd like, and we'll do our best to answer it at this point.
We in discussion? Yes. Deliberations?
We're in, yes.
So right before Sean, so this is really good. I'm glad Sean asked that because at this point, what you kind of decide tonight is what we get ready for next week where you make your formal vote on the budget. So it's really important, and I thank Sean for kind of saying that. It's really important that you have these conversations now because it's kind of the last chance to make any changes to the budget or give us any direction that you want, whether it's up or down. This is kind of that last chance to do that. So I cut Sean off, so I'm going to throw it right back to Sean. I'm all set. Yes.
Okay, go ahead. So based on prior comments that I've made for equitable education to all students, I've read this letter here from the teachers at Wayne Elementary School. I have heard, even though I'm a Reedfield resident, we represent all students. I've heard from a number of folks at Mount Vernon Elementary School, and I strongly feel that we should add these teachers back in that they're recommending. And I believe that we should add the ed tech at Mount Vernon. That is a direct, from what I know and what I've learned and the information I've gathered, and someone can tell me if I'm wrong, people usually do, or try to. That's a direct impact on students. It's a serious impact. Students are way behind when it comes to math and reading. Our chair has talked about those numbers at multiple meetings. And I know it's a cost, but it's not the child's fault. I'm going to say it again. I've been saying it for years now. It's not the child's fault that they're in the predicament they're in because adults can't make decisions to combine schools. So I would like to make the recommendation that we add those 3 positions to this budget.
Did you just say again what those 3 were?
There's an ed tech at Mount Vernon we caught. I believe that was a math ed tech.
Yep.
And this letter here, the interventionist, the 2 interventionists that they recommended these letters.
I'll second that.
Oh, it's actually.
Christine?
Yeah, I completely agree with that. But one thing
Right.
so my question, I guess, is, are there, and I read the letters too, and I agree that those positions should definitely be considered. Are there other positions that the admin team wound up cutting through the process of cuts that are like these that we should also consider? And I get that we're not, going to throw everything, we're not going to blow up the budget because we've had good news from the state, but I guess there are probably lots of needs and lots of parent concerns about positions. So maybe we should think about any that we took out.
Patty, did you have a question? Your hand's up.
Yep. I was going to ask, but it kind of just got brought up. First of all, I totally agree with Sean and also with Christine. But I was going to ask what we had cut or where things were at. Like, for example, I thought we left the last meeting and the elementary principal position was in the budget. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay, so the money on there reflects that. And then the guidance counselor, I also thought was in the budget. Does it reflect that as well?
Yes, that is correct as well, Patty.
Okay, thank you. And then I think it would be really helpful to look like, I don't know if there's a list of what was proposed to what had already, positions that have already been eliminated, but like Christine, I would love to review that as well. And also agree with Sean that we should put those interventionists at Wayne and Mount Vernon back.
Yeah. So I'm going to just run down the list right now of kind of what's in and what's out. And I know you guys are having that discussion tonight, and it'll just help you kind of firm that up. So we were looking at an elementary nurse position. That one is in the budget currently. The elementary principal is in the budget currently. The elementary guidance is in the budget currently. As of right now, the literacy specialist and math specialist in the budget currently represents 50% for each of those positions. And what you guys are at, the people that have spoken are advocating for those returning to full-time. That would mean literacy full-time, math full-time, so that equals one position. The technology ed tech at the high school is not in the budget right now, and the math ed tech that Sean just referenced is also not in the budget, and you guys are discussing it right now. The only other position that is in the budget that the team had talked about was taking the middle school math interventionist we had turned into a ed tech position. So that's the only other kind of position that's kind of, it's in the budget right now, but it's not for a teacher, it's for an ed tech. So again, if you guys are looking to return that, then we'll make that adjustment going forward. That's it. There's nothing else on the table at this point.
Thank you.
Jay, I thought we cut the high school math teacher. I remember seeing a document that we cut that as well.
We had an extra math teacher, yes. Sorry, that's right. Thank you, Tyler, for
Can we
pointing
add
that
that
out.
back in as well? Because we approved the courses and then we didn't fund the teacher for the courses we approved.
Right. Yep.
We did not put that back.
We did not
We
put that
did
back
not
in,
put
so
that back in.
I'm gonna make a note of that. Thank you, Tyler.
So I just want to clarify the position at the middle school. So does that mean if we keep it as it is right now, there will not be a math interventionist at the middle school?
There would be an ed tech there.
That would be the math interventionist?
Right, right. That would be, what the model we were looking at was potentially using the high school interventionist to oversee 2 ed techs at the middle school for that work. And then possibly sharing that ed tech at the high school as well, so.
At 277,000.
So, go ahead.
I just did rough math and I may be wrong. That looks like 277,000. Move that back in.
For what?
If we added all of the positions that we've discussed. it
So
would be
just
like-
out, yeah, that sounds about right.
Just the 3 that Sean just.
No, the 3 plus the math teacher at the high school and converting the math interventionist in the middle school back from an interventionist, from an ed tech back to an interventionist.
What did you say that number was? Hold on. Sean.
Like 277.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I just think that it's the responsible thing to do for our students. I mean, they're struggling. The numbers don't lie.
And I will
Those
add,
are facts.
I'll add that I'm more comfortable voting for the budget if the SRO is in it, if we add these positions back.
Annie?
I think it's crucial. These children are going to have the need as they go through school. And I appreciate, I think it was Principal Brackley talking about how there'd be an interventionist team in essence where they'd gather people and have a creative way of figuring out how to help the children. But if we can really just spot on, get the interventionist back, hopefully just give them a leg up, which they're going to need. It's crucial. So absolutely.
Thank you.
I'm just on the way, but I agree.
Kristen?
Is there any more information about the grant opportunity for the excellent?
Yeah, so Sean actually forwarded some information on, it's got to go through the Kennebec Sheriff's Department, but it will long-term help us, but it doesn't help us just immediately with the budget, but long-term it'll help us. So they were looking to write the grant to see what they could get to help fund that position. Nothing solid yet. Got to write the grant and then see if we get it. So, but it is kind of in the works now, so.
Yes. That's it. Yep. I spoke to the sheriff and he was very excited to apply. He said he was going to get his grant writer on it. I spoke to him last Friday. Monday morning. I don't know if him and Jim had a chance to connect because I knew he needed some info.
Yep.
But that, once that happens, he, as a Reedfield, he said as the sheriff who sends deputies to our school district and as a taxpayer at Reedfield, he was very happy to apply for a grant.
So I just want to echo what everyone else is saying. I think it's crucial that we have the support for these kids that they need for the math and literacy. And if it means putting this much money back into the budget to have that happen, they need it. And we have to be responsible to our kids and do this for them.
They didn't ask to be out of school for 2 years with COVID. That was a decision made that they couldn't have anything to do about. Do we need to
Do
vote?
we, yeah.
We have a
I'm
motion.
gonna do citizen comments before we make the.
And you don't actually have to vote, just is there a consensus, then we'll put that in and then that'll be the number going forward, just that will nail things down.
So is there a consensus that we want to do that? See what Patty's doing. I seeing Patty?
Did we say put everything that was out or reduced back in? I couldn't quite hear Tyler's list. Sorry.
So by my calculation, and I think I'm off by 40,000, because I added back in the technology ed tech at the high school. We added back the literacy specialist at Wayne, the math interventionist at Wayne, the math ed tech at Mount Vernon. I believe, and correct me if I'm wrong, we added the math interventionist back to an interventionist at the middle school, and we added a high school math teacher to teach the courses that we approved in January or December.
Okay, I'm thumbs up.
So I just need to be clear, are you saying the technology ed tech too? Because that, I heard you just say.
I didn't hear consensus on that one. I heard
Okay,
consensus.
that's
on
what
three.
that's why I was asking. Thank you.
Yeah, so that's why I said I was off by 40,000, because when I calculated, I had it in
Gotcha.
there.
Thank you, Tyler.
I just want to talk a little bit more about the high school math teacher. I know that we approved some math courses, but can you just review again how that was going to be, those courses were going to be taught? I know that Bill, or one of the math teachers, sorry to say the name, was going to.
Yes, so it's
pick
going to
that
pick up
up.
some of the coding classes that were going to be new this year. He was going to pick up, or a person was going to pick up those coding classes. And then that's how that's why the extra math person was in there. So then we could give the full, yeah.
So I guess my question is, have we done signups for that class yet? And how many students? I just, I'm not sure that we need to hire a math teacher if we have a class of 8 students.
Right. So right now, the last I saw when I spoke with Michelle last week was they had enough with 4 math teachers. They could cover all the math classes. And Cal, if I'm misspeaking, please correct me. They could cover all of the math classes with 4 full-time math teachers. And they were still looking at a couple of coding classes, if I remember right, that could be absorbed in there too. So they weren't shorting themselves in any way, I guess.
So if we didn't hire another math teacher, they'd still be
They'd
okay.
still be okay.
Yes.
Okay.
So I would just like to say that I think we should not include the math.
Yeah, I'm fine with it. If they can be taught, I'm fine.
Yeah.
I was under the impression that we weren't going to teach them if we didn't hire the teacher.
Well, and
Can
that's.
I just clarify, explain what I'm adding to the budget? So I'm adding the math ed tech for Mount Vernon back in.
Yes,
I'm adding the interventionist at Wayne, both back to full-time.
yes.
And the middle school ed tech for math will now be a teacher.
Yes.
That's it. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, yes, yeah, we're all looking at each other.
Yes.
Okay, is everyone good with that? Patty?
Yes.
So what I had was the lit specialist and math specialist in the budget represents 50% for each position.
Correct.
So now both will be full-time, yeah.
No.
Thank you.
So it's actually one position, one FTE.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Any other discussion with the board? Are there any citizen comments on the budget? Did anyone sign up? Nobody? Oh, Leslie? That's okay.
And I'm from Wayne. So Allie's 10 and
Could you
she,
speak into the microphone?
sorry.
Sorry.
So I have a 10-year-old who's in 4th grade and she was affected by COVID. And so she actually receives math, speech, and like reading and writing. So it's really important for her to receive that because even though we were at home, the next year she still got moved ahead. And Addison received speech too. So it's just really important for them to be able to get that extra help. And I do think that it really helps them a lot. So cutting those positions would really affect them.
Thank you. Anyone else on that? Just Leslie? Just Leslie. I mean, just Leslie. You want to change your mind? Okay, now we need to make some decisions. It seems like we have made some decisions, but I just want to one more time, make sure that you know what we all know what we are leaving here with. Good. Mandy, you good? Okay. Is everyone clear on what we are leaving here agreeing to? Anyone have any questions about that? Patty, you good?
So we're roughly looking at 1.5 million increase.
Yes,
1.5.
yeah, just eyeballing it, yes.
Patty, did you want to say something?
Yeah, I just wondered if somebody who could do math in their head, Tyler, Mandy, could, and I'm sure many of others of you can too, I can't, could, like, what does that mean for a percent? Approximately. Like I see the 6 point whatever on the sheet that we originally got, but can we translate?
Rough guess, probably 7.5%.
Okay.
8% on the high end.
Yeah, that's on the high end, but yeah.
Okay, anybody else?
Oh,
Is there a motion to go into executive session?
I move that we go into executive session.
So I have to read the whole thing, why we're going into executive session. Yep.
I motion to go into the executive session to consider the superintendent's evaluation pursuant to MRSA Title I, Section 405.
Second. So it's been moved and seconded to go into executive session to discuss the superintendent's evaluation. Any discussion?
all right, Kristen,
Yes.
Annie,
Yes.
Tyler,
Yeah.
Christine,
Yes.
Kathy,
Yes.
Patty,
Yes.
Rebecca,
Yes.
Sean,
Yes.
and Eric.
Yes.
So it is unanimous.
Okay, we are in executive session and we'll go into the music room. Someone that was listed for tonight. I don't know why your name is on there for tonight, but you can do it or I can do it. What'd you say? So I think we did a really good job tonight, keeping kids at the center. You know, when we talked about putting those interventionists back in, I think that was really kid-centered. And we had shared the airtime, we were respectful, we listened openly, and we agreed to disagree, although there weren't too many disagreements tonight. So I think it was a good meeting, so thank you all. Do we have a motion to adjourn? All those in favor? We are adjourned.